Race 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Second straight week in Altenberg, and what a difference a 7-day break has made. From bright sunny skies and green fields around, it is now a snowstorm this afternoon. Welcome back, everybody, to our second and deciding heat for what is the anti-penultimate World Cup race of the season. 6 of 8. Martin Haven and Greg Cackett watching the action, and last week's winner definitely in a medal position here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Hansi, he's going to want to show that he can do this even without the big man fly shower on the back, and Eric gave him an awesome push there. So second fastest push, and when you've got Hansi driving this track, who is, like I said in the transmission, he has been as close to perfect as I've seen at this track behind the big man Friedrich. And then obviously Friedrich nursing that adductor issue, but you know, he's pushing a little harder today, and Alex Schuller, who's going to be the man to keep you in the medal hunt there.
Yeah, he's had 8 straight wins on this track, or 8 wins in 10 starts on this track, until last week, where he was beaten by Hansi Lochner. Francesco was in 3rd place, 2nd place at the moment, so he's not our first heat leader, because that honour goes to, well, a name that we've been expecting for quite some while, Switzerland's Michael Vogt. Yeah,
and Mickey is a super talented pilot. We've seen him knocking on the door of these sorts of performances for years now. They've got great kit in the two-man, and they got a great push from Big Sandro on the back there, despite his neck injury, which I keep talking about, because you need to understand that's a significant injury, and that's significant bravery to come and do a track like this when you're nursing something like that. But the former discus thrower is showing what a class act he is on the back, giving Mickey the push he needs, a top 3 push at 5:30. So here we go.
He's been knocking on the door all season long. Mickey Vogt did not race here last week, so he's got, you know, fewer trips in hand than all of his rivals, but he leads what is a very narrow top 3, and Brad Hall only a 10th out of it. If Brad clears up a couple of mistakes, then he could be well in there. But Hansi Lochner, the danger man perhaps for the gold medal, last week's winner, made a mistake right in the very first corner. Alexander Schuller there warming up in the slushy car park, as everybody else is. Alex is the alternate for the two-man, just in case. No, not, he's back. He is behind Francesco, so they will be looking to try and take gold. Francesco still not at full strength. He really is trying to preserve himself at the World Championships. Of course, in 2012, 11 years ago, he came in as the Junior World Champion and won the Senior World title, the first of many for him. He was the youngest ever two-man World Champion and remains the most successful two-man driver in the business. Can he add another victory here? Well, it's his home track. If he can't do it here, then who knows where he will. Drazen Cilic will be first off in our field of 19 sleds, all safely completed the first heat, and then followed by Adam Dubesh, Jacobs Callender, and so on, as we go from last to fast all the way down to the last man as the change room. And that is going to put extra pressure, because Mickey Vogt has not been in that position at this level before. And it's different when you're the last man in there and you know you've got to go and defend a lead. That's a whole different ball game from going out and chasing somebody who was quicker in the first heat. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely. And also, the other side of that is, when you do it and you're successful, that gives you an unbelievable mental boost going forward, because you know you can deliver where it counts.
Race 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in Altenberg. Martin Haven and Greg Cackett in the booth at the line for Croatia. Drazen Cilic and Mario Starek.
So as we said in the first heat, one of the most colourful characters in the field, Drazen Cilic, is really doing his federation. He's really giving back to his federation here. They want to keep their quota spots for the end, for the next games. They want to start bringing some people through. So Drazen is keeping the seat warm here. He's just getting down. He'd never been to Altenberg before, and he's, you know, a 38-year-old driver. He's come here with a, you know, a good heart to kind of give it his best. So we're just looking for Drazen to get down safely, and get those points in the bag.
Yeah, he's in a rented German sled, which has clearly seen a few upside-down trips in the not-too-distant past. Whether it's Drazen or not remains to be seen. Let's see if he can get it nicely off the Kreisel. Nice, tidy lines. It's not about speed. It's about getting it down in one piece.
And he's, you know what, he's having a great run here. He's got through most of the danger zones. A little tap here before 15. But he'll go into 16 and 17, and no doubt through the line, no drama. So a great job for him there, because his first runs here, both of them, you know, he went over. So poor Mario got binned in his first 2 heats here, and again, he took it all in stride. You know, these are brave guys coming down, and he loves bobsleigh, and he has a great time doing it. And he's come here to do a job, and that is to get down, to get points, and he's done it. So a great job from Silic.
Looks like Draxen has had to go with a new helmet as well, because normally his would have the Croatian flag on. It's all white today, so yeah, may just have been that the helmet had a little bit too much damage. Not bad lines at all. He is a good driver. You know, it's a tiny national team, basically him and a couple of other guys. So, yeah, to come out again and represent their nation at the top level and heading into next week's World Championships.
Absolutely, good job. Little nod there. Go on, wave to the people, Drazen.
Yeah.
Get that helmet on.
He always does.
There you go.
There you are, you can hear it. Right, at the top of the track is the Czech Republic's Adam Debeš. There will be quite a few fans who have come over the nearby Czech border to watch Debeš and Dominik Dvořák in action. And he's got Dominik Zaleski behind him, who's one of Dvořák's former brakemen.
Yeah, and Dominik is, you know, Zalewski, that is a, you know, the Czech national record holder. We say that every week because we should, because he's a 10-100 meter runner. So the guy's got serious wheels. He could have actually gone to the Munich European Championships last year, or 2021 rather, but he had he'd had some hamstring issues, and he'd only run like I think a 10-4 or a 10-5, and so he didn't want to go. And that just shows the mentality of the man. Most people would bite your hand off to go to a track and field European champs. He wasn't in shape, so he said no thank you. So a serious competitor on the back of this sled here.
So Debeš in 18th place out of our field of 19. Handy advantage over Drazen Silic. His target is Latvia's Jakubs Kalender, who will be the next man on ice.
So we've got a 5:39 getaway to improve upon here. These are both light athletes, so that 2-man sled weighs an absolute ton. So look at the wheels on Dominik on the back. He's in, down, beautiful. 5:43, so they drop the other way, but it is snowing, so it's hard to quantify where the impact is.
Well, it's snowing and it's windy as well. The wind is really swirling around. We talked about this before. In ski jumping, they always have the anemometer that shows what the wind speed is, what the direction is. In Winterberg, the German coaches were holding up a bit of tape far down from the start to show where the wind was blowing, to try and give their guys a good opportunity to start without a headwind. Maybe that's something we need to look at in terms of graphics as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting observation for the athletes as well, especially for guys and girls from track and field backgrounds who, you know, we live and die by our wind reading at 100 meters, you know, so, and it's never really occurred to me before to have that in the
Don't think you ever get a wind-assisted start, because there's usually a building behind the start, but you definitely feel it when you're running into a headwind.
That's it, and like you said, you can look for when the wind drops, and that's...
Well, he started with a 1.14 second advantage over Drazen Silic. He comes down with a 1.14 second advantage over Drazen Silic. So didn't open up the advantage at all, but Adam Debeš takes the lead as Drazen gives his brakeman Mario Starek a face full of freshly fallen snow in the leader's box.
Yeah, that's it. There's a way to repay your brakeman Mario for coming and doing this track with you. There's a face full of snow, Mario. So he took that tap just before Omega, which again is not going to do you a lot of good speed-wise here, but other than that, you know, a tidy enough run from Adam. Said after a spill in training this week, which perplexed him a little bit, going so early up the track, but he's got down 2 runs, more points in the bag, and the Czech rebuild marches on. And
more experience under his belt.
Yeah.
And that will be the case as well for this man, Jakubs Kalender, with Ivo Kleinberg's behind him. Jakubs with his World Cup experience still in single digits. One of the real new pilots here in Latvia.
Yeah, so we're going to read on the start here. So 39, so they've dropped as well. That's 600s from their first push. So again, I think we're potentially looking at, as you said, Martin, the snow blowing up the track as well. So it really gets in those grooves.
And yeah, filling the start grooves, and then you're pushing really a little bow wave of snow in front of you as well. You think, well, how much difference can it make? Well, we're talking about 300 or 400, so that's the sort of difference it can make.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a
lot of snow in the track as well, and that will only build up. The longer the run goes on, the more you are down the middle of the ice, the clearer it will be. It's pretty dry, gritty stuff. It's not big, wet, flaky snow that sticks to everything. But even in the Monobob race, the women were complaining later on in the race that it was hard to see because the snow was clinging to the visor. So completely down at the bottom here and doing 70+ miles an hour, 77 miles an hour at the bottom. It's really important to see where you're going.
That's it. He's taken, 1.1 seconds out of Dobeš there. So,
yep.
It's a good, again, a good ride, a good return. A 20-year-old pilot, some challenges in training last week. Calms down beautifully, and seemingly the sled's not too knackered from when they did go. Oh, was he all right?
Yeah.
Dropped something. Dropped his phone.
It was about 2/10 slower than his first heat, and I think that is predominantly an effect of the snow all the way down the track.
Right. Yeah.
You can see how much of it is hanging in the air here in this super slow motion, but
a lot of your key areas here, you exit 9, coming into the straightaway before Kreisel, your exit Kreisel into 11, 12. A lot of those key danger zones were handled pretty well here, so probably seeing where he gets some speed up.
But a lot of this track is still open to the elements, unlike in Winterberg a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, last man to beat Francesco Frigic on this track in a two-man sled is coaching currently. Justin Cripps at the back of the shot there with Lyndon Rush, watching as Taylor Austin of Canada and Cyrus Gray blast off. 18th place, just 200s ahead of our current leader, Jakobs Calendar.
That's a 55 getaway, so that's we know Taylor's not got the strongest start in him, and he really needs to get turbocharged by Cyrus and Shaq on the back. And those guys are being compared for the two-man spot at World Champs next week. But when you've got a snow race like this, it is, like I've said so many times, it is really hard to quantify the quality of performance, because it really does hold you back that much. But a 55 is still something that they'll definitely be, not totally enamoured with.
Ooh, and big skids, and you can see how much snow is being thrown up as the runners get sideways, so that exaggerates the braking effect.
Yeah, and he's just slipping back here, and I think where Jakobs was a little better down the track here, didn't make so many mistakes, certainly in those danger zones.
He's closing, he's got better speed. He was 1400s back at the start. He only had 200s from the first heat. How close? 400s back. So over 2 miles of ice in the snow, he lost by 600ths of a second. Well, first time here in Altenberg over the last couple of weeks, and learning as he goes. I mean, it was the same for Bianca Rivi in the mono earlier, and it will be tomorrow. Very little experience compared to a lot of the field, and you've got to learn fast, because the guys who know.
Definitely, and Taylor definitely needs to work on his start. He needs to get that up, but the guy is an excellent pilot. He really knows how to drive. He's got great feel. He's got great eyes and hands, as you guys say. He's definitely not what you want there, especially in the snow, skidding. Look at that. You can just, the snow just shows you.
Yeah. Deep snow at the edges, and then hitting the wall and getting sideways.
Yeah.
All the pain in the locker there. Nice run through the Kreisel, not too much center pressure, and then the third element comes out nicely, brings it down right down the middle of the tubes here out of 14 into 15, but hits that expansion joint. So all the tough breaks there for Taylor Austin. But he'll be heading to another track that's relatively new for him, St. Moritz, for the World Championships over the next couple of weeks. Well, he was in a group of sleds covered by 1800s that stretched from Calendar in 17th up to Dominic Dvorak in 12th. So 6 sleds, 1800ths of a second. And Jakobs Calendar currently has the lead. Calendar with a 700ths of a second deficit to Cedric Follador of Switzerland. And we think there might be a little battle on for position between Cedric Follador and Timo Rona, who was 6th in the first heat, where Cedric was 15th. To get that final Swiss spot for the World Championships. That's assuming that Simon Friedli is fit enough to compete, of course.
Well, this is it, and that's why we're seeing Andy Haas on the back of Sedi here, because he is normally Simon's brakeman. And again, as I said, the first heat, best wishes to Simon. Heal up soon, mate. Get yourself back for your home champs. But Andy's going to want, we've got a 10.6 sprinter on the back here. He's run that far as well, but a 46, it's not too bad. A couple hundreds off what they did in their first one.
Well, that's not bad, because the last 2 sleds have dropped 600s each, so maybe they just had a little bit more incentive to try and climb up the order. And when you are in a tight group where only a few hundreds cover 6 or 7 sleds, one clean run can make an enormous difference to your finishing position.
Yeah, and Sedi's a good driver here. I know his crew pretty well, Nicola Mariani. told me a few years ago when they were in Altenberg, they had a great time here because he just drove it so nicely. And, you know, he's got skills, but he's going back into the red here, which I think is testament to
looking good here. He was 1100s up, and the gap is growing, 1900, so best speed of all. This is a very clean run from Cedric Follador, and he's got slightly better ice to play with as well than he did in the first heat.
Oh, he's got the wrong numbers there, yeah, he's behind there.
So 2900s up, and don't forget there were 7 sleds covered by 1800s. He has just left 4 tenths clear, so that's a half-second gain over Jacob's calendar. That's a big second run from Cedric Follador. If this is a selection race, the first heat may have let him down. He was damn fine making sure that the second one did not do the same.
Yeah, what a response. No, great job from Cedric there. Just look at the weather. I mean, in these pictures, it just shows how much is getting into that track. And even with the sweeping protocols, there's only so much they can get away. And if it's inconsistent, if they're clearing more at the top and less at the bottom, and then depending where you make your mistakes, you know, it's actually not a guarantee even if you get swept before your run when it's coming down.
And normally, like in a racing car, you want to use the full width of the track and use as much as you can to open up the curves. Here, you want to come off tight right down the middle of the tube as much as possible. So it changes what you do when you're driving. Lee Chun-Jan next up with Chen Heng behind him. And Lee finishing in 7th equal last week. His World Cup best performance on one of the toughest driving tracks on the planet. Now he finds himself 7 spots further down today in 14th. His advantage over Follador, 500. So basically now, to stay ahead of Cedric, everybody has to improve by half a second. And that's the marker that Cedric Follador has just laid down.
Absolutely. And, you know, get that pilot bar in. And, you know, every 100's going to count here, but he's dropped his start from a 43 to a 39. So, again, he's going the right way. He's giving himself everything he needs.
If only he hadn't dragged the bar along the wall and taken 700s out of the sled, that would have been a much better advantage.
Well, we'll see, and he's pretty clean and tidy at the top. Yeah, it's already down to 200s.
Yeah, he had 5 in hand from the first heat, started a fraction quicker than the Swiss, and now he's in the red, and now it is a losing game. If you haven't got the speed by turn 4, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, we'll see how he does at this danger zone here. Outside of Cryos, it's a lovely exit into 11-12 transition, but he is bleeding time away. Can't fault the lines at all. Second best speed. Follador still the fastest sled. He's still ahead of Jacob's calendar, so he may slip 1 spot, but if he's close to Follador, he may also pick somebody off. Well, there is Cedric Follador on the left and Andy Haas on the right. They are in the leaders box. Somebody fetched those men some coats. They might be hanging around there for a few more minutes.
But definitely in a good push. So, you know, the Latvians had a 6th ranked push with the 33 in the first heat. And Lee had a 13th ranked push with a 43. And now they've matched them, 39 each. So great job by the brakeman there. Helping his pilot get as much velocity into the sled as possible here. So, and I imagine, you know, these guys are being weighed against each other as well from Wu, who pushed last week. But look at the pilot, but just, yeah, you're right, bang on to that.
You know, hundreds make the difference in positions, and mistakes like that, they're easily made, but you just curse yourself when you do it. So there's Lee and Chen. Well, they slip into 2nd spot, but only 3100s back. 4100s back is 3rd as we get to Mihai Tenter of Romania, with Ciprian Darocci behind him. 10th best start. And that shows what Mihai is capable of when he is healthy. And he is healthy this season, which is always nice to see.
Yeah, and he's got the powerhouse Ciprian behind him, a 43 there, so they take a couple of hundreds the wrong way there. But, you know, Ciprian is generally his 2-man brakeman, and, you know, we're looking at the national, you know, the Romanian national junior 100-meter record holder. So, again, a guy with wheels, with serious size as well. So, giving Mihai the start he needs. But, yeah, Mihai had a good drive in the first heat.
Yeah, and these are nice lines again. And we saw his teammate, Andrea Grecu, take a European silver medal in the Monobob this morning. A little wavy down the straight, but better speed than we've seen from Cedric Follador, and extending the advantage now. I said to stay in front, you've got to go half a second quicker. He's going to do that, isn't he? He's going to maintain and build his first heat advantage over Follador.
Yeah, and he's getting through these danger zones reasonably well here. Just holding the time, but it is going the other way a bit.
Yeah, coming back down a fraction. Just enough at the line. That'll do. 56.49 compared to 56.54 in the first heat. So he finds a little bit more pace in a snowier second run.
Yeah, and with a slightly deficient start as well. So, yeah, I think a good day for Mihai. Like you said in the first heat, he's had a lot of injury problems. He's generally doing, the Marcus Triple or Rudy Rinaldi one-leg push, sitting in. They do what they can to keep the points going. So the brakemen have had their work cut out pushing, a seated pilot. I mean, we pushed Brad Hall sitting in. Imagine pushing that.
Yeah.
It's like pushing a cow in a sled. He's a big boy. So Mihai is... it's lovely to see him fit and healthy again, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, because he has got driving ability, no question at all about that. He was in the Junior Worlds again last week, so he wasn't here in Altenberg, he was back in Winterberg and finished in 6th place behind 4 German sleds that completed the top 4.
You just saw the slow-mo of the brooms there coming into the track. There we go, here's the sweep.
Yeah, you see the
start block.
Down towards the bottom, you saw the orange cap of Ralph Mender, the Ice Meister here as well, looking in just to see how badly the snow is building up, because, of course, that means that he wants to know what work they can do on the track later this evening, because they want to re-prepare it for tomorrow. And there you can see the driver, Dominic Dvorak, cleaning out the grooves himself.
You've got to give yourself every little advantage here. And if you're if you've got snow in those grooves, if you've got sometimes big shards of ice as well. In our race last week, I was looking at the grooves thinking, oh my God, we've got to push through all of that there. It's like little icebergs in the grooves. And it really does have a huge impact. So
absolutely,
Dom will want every advantage. He's got supposedly the better, or rather the newer BTC two-man sled. But he's got the big man Joachim on the back, a learner pilot who was at the World Juniors last weekend, back in the back seat.
Yeah, and exactly as we've seen with the Romanians over the years, they are starting to spread out their braking talent into driving. Dominic Zaleski is also starting to learn to drive.
He just lost his hands there, Joachim, so that's going to have impact. He's going to have lost pressure on the sled there. You don't want to lose pressure because it just impact the push, but he's done all right. He's only dropped a 100th of their first heat.
Now the question is, although they managed to sprint through the beams as quickly, did they get the velocity exiting it that they want?
One also from Joachim's perspective, as in terms of competing brakeman, he did manage to equal Zalewski, who was ahead of him in the first heat. So
yeah, but Tabesh's sled had better exit velocity, so it's now down to Dvorak. Dvorak dropping behind Mihai Tentea. And again, this is all he is at the top of that pyramid of sleds that was separated by 1800s. He does not want to go backwards here because it could be a long fall.
He's just about stopping the bleed, but he needs to be clean as a whistle down if he's going to do anything, but I don't know if he's going to have enough in the tank. Yeah,
top 2 right 10, now 11, are covered 10. By a 10th, so he might not even be second. He might drop to 3rd behind Cedric Follador of Switzerland. It's going to be close.
800.
Oh, 200s ahead of Follador and 800s behind Mihai Tentea. So Dominic Dvorak drops a spot. He was 12th in the first heat. He'll be no worse than 13th, but Mihai will move up to no worse than 12th place. What's Tentea's best World Cup result here? That will be a 12th place finish in December 2021. So Mihai Tentea on a personal best equaling run at the moment. And if he picks up one more spot, it'll be a best ever result in two-man for him. Yeah, one of the few races he's actually pushed the sled for, so there is that.
Well, it's an interesting experience for guys like Dom Dvorak. We've just seen there. He's he's had a great pedgree in Altenberg. He had that top 6 finish at the World Champs 2 years ago, which is he speaks openly as a real fond memory for him, because that was a world-class performance. And he's in the middle of a rebuilding program. He really did the hard yards this season before Christmas. He stayed in Europe. He taught his new brakemen the ropes, and they're coming through. And he's going to really leave a legacy in that Czech program.
Talking about leaving a legacy, these two men are, and the two guys behind them, Roman Heinrich and Dorian Ottaville for France. Last ever two-man World Cup start for Roman Heinrich. He will go to the Worlds in 2- and 4-man in the next fortnight, and that will be the end of his career. A 5:42 getaway. They find another couple of hundreds to boost their performance.
Yeah, so Dorian earning his money there, helping Roman get a little more speed at the start. So Roman's just got to bring this down nicely. He's dropped from the green back to level pegging. So
had 1200s really from the first heat. They added 100th at the start, and now he's 100th back behind Mihai Tentea.
So this is going to go to the wire, I think, because he has kept this clean in these danger zones.
And like Dvorak,
there you go, look.
Yeah, like Dvorak, hanging around the top 6.
So he's just got to stay clean here, Roman. 600s, okay, he might have enough in the bank here.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, we were waiting for Heinrich and Dvorak to make the big breakthroughs that Benny Meyer did. Well, he continues to hang on, 56.49, exactly the same second heat as Mihai Tentea. So that 1200s that he gained on the remaining in the first heat is what keeps him in the top 11 positions, and he was only 100th out of a top 10 finish.
Yeah, you saw Leo and Thibaut there, some of the strongest beards in bobsleigh right now.
No, absolutely. The beard game is strong.
Yeah, and they'll be in the... Oh, no, what am I talking about? He's not doing 4-man. So they would have been in the 4-man. So Roman opting to just stay in the 2-man up to Moritz to see off his career. You know, and he's had such a great career. I've been competing with this guy for a long time now. He's always been a firm friend of the Brits. And, you know, we've always gotten very well with his brakemen, and they've got real talent. And I hope someone comes through to keep that French program alive.
Absolutely so. Look forward to seeing French bobsledding and skeleton continue in the future. Austrian flags waving at the top of the track now for Markus Treichel. He was in 10th place after the first heat with Sebastian Mitter behind him in his first 2-man World Cup start in over a season. Let's see if Treichel can hang on in the top 10, 100th ahead of Roman Heinrich. And these two, I always think, very much in the same sort of category. A big breakthrough could perhaps make a real change to Treichel's career.
That's it, a 41 getaway there. Takes top 3 so far.
Doubles his advantage over Heinrich before he sits down then from 1 to 200.
That's it, I know, and 100's better than his first heat. So, ooh, and that's that tap before 5 we don't want to see. And that's going to scrub some time away from the top here.
Little skid from 5 into the upper labyrinth as well. He's in the red. But if he's clean out of 9, and he was, little late pressure skid, but it wasn't sideways. So he's a 10th back, 5th best speed.
So out of the corner, skid there before 11 into 12. So I think he's given away too much here. He's going to drop behind Roman unless he finds...
It's going backwards in a hurry, isn't it?
Yeah, 3/10 now. That's going to be too much to overcome, even with the fastest of German shortcuts at the bottom here.
Yeah,
I think
too much snow on the track, not helping either. And Markus Treichel drops by 4/10, 56.91. That's half a second slower than his first heat. That's a real disappointment for Markus Treichel. And a final 2-man race for Roman Heinrich will see him in the top 10. A silver medalist in 2-man in December 2019 in Lake Placid. We were waiting and waiting for the huge breakthrough that would keep him right at the top. But in the end, never quite materialized. And Treichel, well, he's still got a little bit more time on his side.
Yeah, and you can see there, look, they're you know, mistakes, clear errors up and down the track, so he won't be happy with the drive. But Markus has been flying recently. He's been flying in training. He drives Altenberg well generally, so there's just some driver errors there. It seems that the crew potentially are resting ahead of the 4-man tomorrow and getting ready for the World Champs next week. You know, he's got a great crew now when he took on Meyer's boys, Sasha Stefan, Christian Huber, Marcus Sandler. These guys are fantastic athletes and really giving Marcus the results that he deserves.
5th last week, okay, so he's had a loose run today, and that has sort of left him in the doldrums. But it is Roman Heinrich that leads, 10 down, 9 to go here in snowy Altenberg. So into the final 9 sleds. Roman Heinrich, the race leader in the 6th 2-man race of the season. We get to Patrick Baumgartner of Italy. Now, Baumgartner, Youth Olympic champion back in 2012 in Innsbruck. 2 career top 10 results, both in Sigulda in November 2020 when it was a fairly slender field. Now he is up against the best of the best. Let's see if he can... hang on to this. This could be comfortably a personal best result here in Altenberg.
Yeah, and he's got one of the strongest boys in the field. You know, this guy's won numerous Italian weightlifting titles and decided, I want to do bobsleigh. So he's obviously slightly insane as well.
In a good way.
In the best way, in the way that keeps us all out of going for a real job. But he's got some monstrous lifts, this guy, and he's powering Patrick out to big starts because Patrick's never been a great starter, and he's currently nursing a bad back, which seems to be a little better. But the guy can drive on his day, he really can. And he just needs that crew behind him. He needs to be confident, needs to be healthy in himself. But this is okay. It's not too bad.
Nice looking lines, gets onto the right line, coming into the Kreisel, 5th best speed. He's got a lead over Roman Heinrich. It's coming down from 1/4 of a second to 1600ths. think this is going to be nip and tuck, isn't it, at the bottom? If he doesn't make a big mistake here, and he doesn't make a big mistake...
It's going to be close to the line.
I think he's going to be in the red.
Is Heinrich going to...
rubbed off too much speed.
Dead heat.
It's a dead heat. So they both get a top 10 result.
And this is what we're talking about. It's unbelievable in this sport over such a long, distance of ice to come down in a dead heat. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. This is not the 100 meters.
No.
This is the 3,000 meters, and they are tied to the 100th of a second. So both will get a top 9 result, and for both, that will be a best ever result here in Altenberg.
Guys, that's excellent.
I say that, it's not for Roman Heinrich. 5th in January 2019 was his best result, but it is comfortably the best here for Patrick Baumgartner. He's got 2 13th place finishes on this track. Now no worse than 9th.
Yeah, and a start from 45 to a 41 as well. Yeah. So Braitman's done his job. Everyone go home happy from that one, I think.
Well, there's Manny Mahata. Now the question is, does Baumgartner win the battle within the battle, or the battle within the battle, as they say in Italian? This is Mattia Variola. I don't know what it is in Italian, clearly. Jose Abu behind him, Mattia Variola. What did he have an advantage? He had nearly 2 tenths, 1900ths over Baumgartner from the first heat. So this should not be close. You know it's going to be, don't you?
Yeah, and they had a 10th advantage in the start as well with that 10.2 100-meter rocket on the back.
Wow, 5:29.
Go on, Delmas. That is excellent. And he got shaken up last week. They had a nasty spill in the 4-man, and he was a little bit hurt, but hey, he looks like he's back in business.
Little tap going into 4, that won't hurt, not too much. He's got good speed, half a second up on his teammate, Patrick Baumgartner and Roman Heinrich. This is for an 8th place finish, no worse, and to be the best of the Italians.
Oh, a bit skiddy there. And again, so with those danger zones, exit 9, exit Kreisel, can he, that's nice. Nicely into this 11th
Yeah,
spot.
but where's the speed gone? He's gone from 48 to 15. It'll be tied as they come out of 14 into 15. He's behind already. He's going down. He's going down in a big way. The clouds of snow are hanging over the track as he leaves them in his wake. He's going to drop 3 spots, 7 spots. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, that's not a good day for Mattia.
Wow.
He knows, look at him.
It is so easily done. It is so easily done. He is in a group of 3 sleds covered by 1 single 100th of a second, because the 2 next guys were tied just 100th quicker than him. His hope was he was going to vault all of them and get up into the top 4 or 5.
Exactly, yeah.
Instead, he's hit reverse here. And that's all she wrote.
Well, and especially when, you know, Delmas given him the start. He's given him a 29, and that's a big improvement.
That skid, you know, MotoGP riders back into a corner because it adds to the braking. When you're backing it onto the Kreisel, yeah, it's just, you might as well be standing on the middle pedal. Not that they have one, but that's the effect it has.
But he's still learning,
Yeah.
It'll come, and again, when you've got that sort of talent on the handle in terms of the push, you've got to get behind them, you've got to develop them.
Now that is the Austrian flag, not the Latvian flag. It's a different kind of red rather than maroon, but nevertheless, red and white on the sled of Emils Tsipoulis with Mats Miknes behind him. 3rd fastest start in the competition, 5:30. Brad and Taylor Lawrence started 5:26. You know that Miknes looked at that and went, right, we need a 26 or a 25.
He's thinking we'll have a piece of that. So 29. Okay. And again shows how good the push from the Italians was, because if you're equaling the Latvians, you're in great company.
Absolutely.
Now, brilliantly here, as you pointed out before, you've got a dead heat for 6th.
Ooh, gets knocked away into 4 as well.
So, I mean, Roman's going to be looking to get into the top 6 here if, I mean, Emil's got half a second to lose there. This is not...
So did Variola. Now that's a good exit. But look, 2 tenths gone already, 3,200. 10th best speed.
Yeah,
it's woeful.
He's got to keep this together down if he wants to hold on to it. 2,200 still in the bank, 8th best speed now.
Yeah, but he's lost 3 tenths already. Here we go. Can't have a skid here. It's got to be clean. He's just about got enough. Just about. This could be a 3-way tie. It is
Oh,
not
he found it.
700. He just... Sanders bruises.
Yeah, we felt the same way. I wasn't sure if he was going to do it.
I think coaches age more than athletes when they're watching their sleds going down. 56.74. So, yeah, 6,400 slower than his first run.
And he was dead heated with Timo Rona for the top 6 there. So
yeah,
that's going to be really interesting to see what Timo comes down in next. But I think Mattis will be happy enough with that, getting into the 5.2s on a day like this.
Yeah, no question. Tsipoulis, his 9th World Cup race, finished in 6th place last week, and he is challenging for 6th place here today. But big first pressure in corner 4, and that means he's working hard from 4 to tidy up the exit. And again, coming onto the Kreisel.
Yeah, so he's just managed to retain some speed in those danger zones, getting out clean. And it's just saved his bacon a little bit, because those dodgy moments at the top, he just, he wiped speed away. He had half a second in the bank, and he's gone down to, to single numbers. So
drivers in the monobobs this morning, even though there was much less ice and much less snow on the track, were saying it's actually robbed them of speed, and so they weren't getting the speed that they needed for the lines that they were expecting to use.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a problem for these guys as well. Emil Tsipoulis, the leader, he was tied for 6th with Timo Rona and Luca Rolli, and we think probably between Timo Rona and Cedric Follador, the decision will be made shortly, assuming Seaman Friedli is fit for next week, about who gets the 3rd Swiss sled. And if Seaman Friedli's not fit for the 2-man, then again, maybe Rona and Follador will both go in.
Yeah, we saw a 36 getaway for these guys in the first heat. So Luca, who's one of the most talented guys in the Swiss program, giving Timo a great start there. But yeah, Timo, he's been given his opportunity here and currently sits in the top 6. So it's his to throw away here.
Going out to grab it with both hands, 5:31, 500s quicker than their first start, and only 200s behind Tsipoulis.
Great job, Luca.
Yeah. And a good early pass of the track. You've got to keep that start speed alive. Oh, skid through the second pressure of 4.
He's in green numbers at the moment, so he's got to be clean as a whistle now.
Don't forget, it was a dead heat with Emil Tsipoulis.
Suzafoy, a bit squirrely, but he's managed to sort of avoid the skid there.
And look at the speed, he's 5th fastest. Tsipoulis was about 15th coming onto the Kreisel, so there's the advantage. Another 10th added just in the Kreisel to that advantage. He is rocketing away. Rona's not happy with 6th. He wants to move up the order.
And I think he's going to. Look at this. This is excellent run through the line.
56.37.
700s in the bank.
Yeah.
No, great job, Timo.
Well, look, he and Emil Tsipoulis were tied to the 100th in the first heat. Tsipoulis did a 56.74. He's just done a 37. That is a big, big step change. That's a fantastic second heat from Timo Rona.
Yeah, excellent heat from him there. And again, we've got Christoph Haffer coming next, who is going to be, he's going to be slower in the start, as we know. But he's got the great eyes and hands of the, classic German pilot who drives this track so well. So, will Timo move up the order here? This is going to be...
Yeah. Well, Timo, corner 4 was a little bit flaky. Little skid over the brow there.
So Toby Schneider's got his work cut out here. He's got to give Christoph, the start of his career here if he's going to want to keep himself up in the top 6, or rather to hold on to 5th.
Well, Harper without the traditional sound of AC/DC's Hell Bells, which accompany him to the start line. Tobias Schneider right behind him. They had the 17th fastest start in a field of 19.
It drove to 5th.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at here in terms of the pilot. So, come on, Toby. 10.6 100-meter runner on the back. He's a bit lighter, so there'll be a little bit of weight in the sled.
Yeah, it doesn't look lighter from where I'm sitting, I have to say. 5:45, so they found 300s, but giving away 1400s already that they can ill afford to Timo Rona. So the gap is in single digits as he sits down. What can he do with that? Again, big loop in 4. Little tap into 5, and he's tied. So he's losing ground to Timo Rona, but he knows this track in all its different conditions. Hangs it a bit late off corner 9. Here he comes, though.
Look how well he controlled that, though. Most people would have hit and set into a skid there. Not Christoph Haffer. And here he goes, back to the dead heat.
Best speed of all from the German sled. Yeah, they know what they're doing in all weathers on this track. Haffer, 800s up.
Look at this.
It's not going to be a massive margin, but he should gain another 10th here in the final 3 corners. Across the line, 56.35 for Christoph Harfer.
And he's done it again, you know, so far, as it stands, a 12th fastest push, and he drives himself down to 5th, no worse than 5th. So Christoph really showing just what a quality driver he is there. And I think Toby, he can be happy enough with his day's work there. Snowy conditions, a couple of decent pushes there.
Yeah. Good stuff from Christoph Harfer. 4th last week, 5th in the first heat.
Yeah.
And he really needs that to be a very good run because he's 2/10 off 4th place, 4/10 out of the medals.
But again, look at that late exit there. He's just losing the tail end a bit there, but you can see, look how well he controls this. Keeps the speed, brings it to the right side so he can enter Kreisel
Just
the way he wants to.
feeling it over. He didn't even nudge it with his shoulder. He just allowed it to drift that way. Sometimes the sled goes the right way, sometimes you have to massage it a bit. Now then, Brad Hall, Taylor Lawrence, 4th place, 1/10 out of the medals after the first of the 2 heats, 2/10 ahead of our current leader, Christoph Harfer. Brad, the silver medalist last week.
So a 25 from Big Taylor, so they gain 100. So Taylor's done his job there. He's given Brad more speed at the start, and like you said, 2/10 away here, 2/10 outside of the podium. And on a snow day, anything can happen. So Brad's got to be clean.
We had a 2/10 advantage in hand, and they started 2/10 quicker. So that's a net gain of 4/10 by the time he sits down. He's up that to 1600s because their velocity was way better than Harfer's.
That's it. We're looking at the better part of 6/10 there, but it's
Harfer was quicker. Harfer was 5th quickest or 4th quickest into the Kreisel, so he had higher speed. Brad's coming on, 5500s up. It's not about Harfer. Yes, it is, but it's not. He's looking forward all the time.
Brad,
big skid.
That's not good, but I think he's going to have enough in the tank.
He'll be enough for 4th place. Is it enough for a medal, though? How much advantage? 3100s, 56.24. He outdrove Harfer by an 1100s margin there as well. So
he's going to be cursing himself for that skid, that tap.
Well, that could have been a 1/4 of a second faster than Harfer, and that might really have nailed on a medal. Yes, he does curse himself. Everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. And with this amount of snow on the road, it's very easy to lose control. Much more easy to lose control of the sled. And it's by no means guaranteed that the remaining 3 sleds will hold their positions.
No, definitely. Look, Brad's been sensational here. You know, He had a great week last week, a silver and a gold. He's been flying in training. He only took 1 run on Thursday because he was flying in training. So whilst you'll see the room for improvement, it's still a great place to be, Brad. You know, he's doing exceptionally well.
Thursday was an entirely different racetrack, as it was for everybody. But the longer the heat goes on, the more snow there is. And you know what that means when you're driving a car? Don't think there's any more grip from these runners.
Absolutely. And there it is. Look, he just gets set into that skid.
Yeah.
Again, does well to bring it back in control and get his sled straight again. But you know what? No worse than 4th. Big T happy there.
This could be yet another 2-man medal for Brad Hall. 3 to go, and the British driver leads. He's only been off the podium once this season. So here we go. We're into the big money. Hall, Harfer, Rona. That's your top 3. All of our top 10 were European, so this is the European Championship as well as the World Cup. Stripping for action at the line, Hansi Lochner, gold medalist last week. Eric Bruckert is behind him.
So Eric gave him a great start in the first heat, you know, a 29 getaway, only a couple of hundreds behind Brad. Has Brad done enough to get into the top 3 here? Hansi is, as good friends as they are, is not going to want to hand anything to Brad here.
Well, Hansi's won the last 3 2-man races in a row. So he is really on the form of his career in 2-man. He has a 10th over Brad Hall. He was a 10th off the lead in the first heat. Oh, and again, he taps the wall. I don't think he tapped the wall this time, but a 5:23 getaway.
Hey, that's a great return for Eric there. That's exceptional bragging rights because, you know, to outpush the big man, you got to do something special. So, no, good job from Eric there. You should be really pleased with that.
Second fastest start in the competition so far. And Hansi Lochner, he had a 10th over Brad Hall. It is only a 10th.
And that's a beautiful exit. That is giving him, the 1800. So
best speed of all.
Yeah, he's going to be flying out here. So he gets out of this danger zone, gets out of Kreisel clean, and he does. Beautiful.
quicker than Harper, building his advantage. Okay, so Hansi will be in the medals unless he bins it soon. 71.8 miles an hour. And down at the bottom, are we going to get the first 80-mile-an-hour speed in the race? In the snow, across the line he comes. 55.90. That is a huge run. That might be enough to win the race and become European champion.
You know what? It's going to be fascinating to see what Francesco and Mickey come down with, because Hansi, like you said, he's in that form. He's in that unbelievable blistering form, and Hansi can drive Altenberg so well. But Eric has done a great job. He's given him a 23 start.
Well, we didn't get a speed at
first heat.
Didn't get a speed at the bottom. The timing eye's been blocked by all the snow that's been sprayed up into it, so we're not getting speed at the bottom. But Hansi, that was a big run, and yet they ran it so deep it came out of the drive lines.
You can only do that in a German too, man.
No ice crystals. I think he just got away with that by the skin of his teeth.
You know what, Brooker will be smiling, because that is a 600th improvement on a start. So talk about doing the job for your pilot.
Right, 2 to go. Let's see what we've got in the locker from Francesco Frugic on home ice. The greatest two-man bobsledder of all time.
So you can see he's given a little more gas there, but he's still jogging. And that's when you got the big man Schuller on the back of 5:28, a top 3 push in this field, in these conditions, with Francesco not pushing full bore. Just shows how strong his guys are. Not good for 1 to 3 and a big hit before Omega, but clean through into 5. So if you want to tie this 6, 7, 8 section together nicely here, his advantage is only 800ths. Nose down into 9. Ooh, and he took the tap. He's going to go back here.
100th up. It's going to be neutral. Is he in the red? He is in the red by a fraction.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, by a big fraction, 1700.
Big mistake, yeah. This is, don't adjust your TV screen.
The gap from first to second is 0.4 of a second. Well, Francesco Frugic is not going to win again today. Hansi Lochner might. Francesco won't, but he is in the silver medal position at the moment with 1 to go.
Hey, he's the greatest of all time in our sport.
No question.
You know, and he's just showing he's human.
Yep.
He is human after all. And his home crowd there. You've got to respect the man, you know. He's still competing with that strain deductor.
Yep.
Looks like it's getting a little better. Their priority is Maritz. That's where they want to be. He's not going to be very happy about this, but you can see even from the start. So he took that tap there, and he also had a tap going into before he went into 4. So the whole run, really, by his very high standards, was not where you want to look at that. So tap before the 4,
bouncing up in the air.
but it's the clipping of the wall here where he gets set into a skid, and that's just wiped out his speed.
Yeah, that's that expansion joint we've seen, and a second one on the other side as well.
So.
European champion in 2015 with Martin Grotkopp, who retired last week. In 2017 with Torsten Margis. In 2018 with Torsten Margis. In 2019 with Martin Grotkopp. In 2021 with Torsten Margis. In 2022 with Torsten Margis. He will not be European champion this year. Will it be Hansi Lochner and Eric Bruckert, or could it be Mikkel Vogt and Sandro Mikkel? This for their first ever World Cup win.
29 getaway.
Oh my goodness.
Excellent. So they've taken 100th in the right direction. It's a 4th fastest push on the day, but Mickey is going to want to hold on to this. He has got a chance to be a European champion. Yeah. He is good enough to be European champion here, and so is Sandro.
He was so clean in the first heat. 29, beg your pardon, from a 10th up to 600s up. He had a 10th over Hansi in the first heat.
Oh, that together, Mickey.
Yeah, but he avoids that bit of ice sticking out. Not as quick as Lochner. 300s in it.
So Lochner had the bigger start in the red numbers. Lochner might have done enough here.
I think Lochner's done enough. Mickey Vogt may yet take a silver medal ahead of Francesco Frugic in Altenberg. 500s in it. This is going to be really close to the line. Is the Swiss sled as quick as the FES sled? No! It's Lochner who's the European champion.
Gold again.
Mickey Vogt, a silver medal. And so tantalizingly close. 500ths of a second.
Oh, Mickey,
He'll get over it.
European Championship silver medal and a World Cup silver for Mickey Vogt.
Oh, they are class boys, the Swiss guys. They've got a real talented program growing up here, and they are good guys, and you know they've got great coaching staff. It's a great program, even just to be around. They've always got good vibes.
Third career silver medal, and just a couple of tiny errors. His first run was so clean.
And his first, as you said, his first time being first after the first heat, coming out last out the change room, that's a whole new set of nerves. You know it's yours to give away, so he'll learn a lot from this. These boys will bank that experience. And hey, a silver medal in the European Champs going into our home worlds, I think you'd bite your hand off of that if you lost that last week.
And again, Lochner, third and a 10th back behind Friedrich, the danger man.
What
and still, Listen, if you're going to go out on a high, he has never had as good a season as this in two-man, and that's before we even start looking at the four-man.
Yeah, and you know, if there's prize money for that, he better share that nicely with Eric, because Eric gave him a hell of a push there.
Johannes Lochner, Eric Bruckert, the European champions ahead of Mickey Vogt and Sandro Michel, and Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller. Friedrich again in European medals. Brad Hall, Taylor Lawrence in fourth. And then Christoph Harfer, Tobias Schneider ahead of Marcel. I knew I'd say that, so Timo Rohn and Luca Rolli. Beg your pardon, Tino. It's a force of habit. Marcel Rohn has been a big name around the sport since long before I arrived, and just occasionally those errors creep in. Well, that's how the field finishes. And unlike in the Monobob competition, not too many non-European sleds in the field. So we take out North Americans. There are no US sleds here, of course, here today. Just Taylor Austin from Canada, a couple of Chinese sleds as well to remove. And so our European champions, our top 10 is all European. In fact, our top 14 sleds are all European sleds. So Mattia Variola will be very disappointed to drop behind Cedric Follador and a long way behind Timo Rona. But for Johannes Lochner, third in the first heat, he's been the danger man all season long, and he continues to be so. And that is his second career two-man win in Altenberg, and his second two-man win in Altenberg in 8 days.
Yeah, the guy is in insane form, you know, and he's got the push, you know, he's got the start at the moment, he's got the equipment, and Hansi, he's been one of the best drivers for years now. He's the Olympic silver medalist, you know.
Yeah.
You give him that sort of turbo start. Honestly, I cannot shout for Eric enough there. He has done such a good job because, you know, with Georg Fleischhauer being in such hot form, you know, Brookett's come in to do a job really to basically childmind that seat while Georg gets ready for the World Champs. And he's won himself a gold medal.
Put the cat among the pigeons. He's a European champion. Absolutely, yeah. And Mickey Vogt, I mean, those two at the top, 500s apart, and then nearly 4/10 back to Friedrich in third. You know, that was as close as it gets here. That was far too close for Hansi's comfort. Well, that is it for the two-man Europeans, for the Monobob Europeans, and the penultimate day of action here in Altenberg after 2 weeks of sliding. Tomorrow is Sunday, and that means four-man day, and that means thank you to Greg Cackett for all his help today. He will be in action tomorrow, but we will start the action with the women's bobsleigh. 9:15 Sunday morning, 08:15 GMT. We'll see you there. Until then, have a good evening. Bye for now.